I suppose you can't really do much without knowing. How is it that we got here? How is it that I found myself laying in front of you? Sit down. Let me regale you with my story. I grew up in a village on the outskirts of Dunley. A village known as Gracefall. A place for outcasts. A place for my kind. Some of us were proud of what we are. Some others rejected it. But I was neither. I wanted something more. I wanted to be more of what I am. We were bound by the sun and moon. Whether it was the sun that was coming up or the moon, we had no choice but to transform. Our human bodies bound by the sun, and our wolf bodies bound by the moon in the night. My name is Valdyr. On one fateful night, as the moon grew full, I journeyed out in the place known as Cursed Forest, looking for my next hunt, for the next prey. And then I stumbled onto something. Neither a beast nor a monster, but something in between, something that should not be. Before I could challenge it, it challenged me. After a long and treacherous battle, I came victorious. They, Victus, the vanquished, was consumed. But the flesh I consumed, it caused me pain. It caused me sensations like I've never felt before. I fell onto the ground, thrashing, howling at the moon, clawing at the very ground. And then suddenly, darkness fell in front of my eyes. The next time I opened them, I was in a crypt. The crypt was full of empty coffins. That didn't look good. An empty coffin, it means that something got out. I made my way out of the tomb and into a forgotten cemetery. And as I was expecting, those coffins were not empty to begin with. The undead. The undead have no right walking these lands. Their life has already passed. Nature has spoken. However, something strange was going on with my body. The night was out, and yet I remained human. How could this be? I had to make do with my form. I took down some of the wretched undead, and I fashioned a crude weapon. You can barely call it a sword, but I had to use something to get past these hordes of the unliving. I sharpened my blade against the rocks and the tree, And to my surprise, I had the power to split a tree trunk in half, even though I was not transformed into my glorious form. An advantage that would come to use very shortly. I took my crude, fashioned sword out of the bones of the undead, and I cut down the unliving. I cut my way out of the abandoned cemetery, and I found myself outside. Not too long after fighting my way out of the seemingly forgotten cemetery through the hordes of the wretched undead, I felt it. Beyond the newfound aching in my body, beyond the strange sensations in and out of my body, I felt something more basic. Hunger. Even though it was broad daylight, I had transformed. I was not aware of the physical change that time. The only thing I was aware of, my next prey, my next meal. Letting my instincts and senses guide me, it wasn't long until I laid eyes upon my prey. The unsuspecting deer never stood a chance. I took its life quickly and efficiently. Such is the law of nature, vae victis. Soon after my hunger was sated, I had finally realized that I had transformed in broad daylight, but before I had the time to be surprised by it or realize how this is possible, I was back to my human form. How could this be? How could this be possible? The achings in my body were becoming worse, and the sensations were becoming overwhelming. Considering my current condition and the likelihood of another fight coming, I created some crude armor to wear out of the bones of the undead and the hide from the deer. As I was creating this primitive equipment, suddenly, a surge of magical energy exploded out of my body. It was painful. The pain was excruciating. It is as if a muscle I cannot see or control is spasming and cramping out of control, shooting pain across my whole body as the energy jerked outside of it. But before I could gather myself, it happened again. Another surge of energy exploding out of my body. The pain once again shooting across every limb, every part of my body. I barely stayed conscious, and yet I had to press on. In this state, I had stumbled upon a copper mine of sorts, a quarry, if you will. This is bandit territory. I could tell because bandits were all around this quarry. As soon as they laid eyes upon me, they didn't ask questions, they attacked. Even in my condition, I'm not one to back away from a fight, so I took them on. To my surprise, it seems as if though I instinctively used magic. I did not consider it much into the heat of battle, but somehow I was able to shoot bolts of shadow, envelop myself with the shadow energy. It was all instinctual and not on purpose. My body was acting on instinct, not on purpose. A favorable advantage for me. The bandits started to fall one after the other. In their last moments, as they were losing their life, their essence started flowing into me. It was unlike anything I felt before. It is as if the experience of their whole life is flowing into me. Knowledge, emotions, understandings, pain. I could not filter any of it at the time, so I felt all of it. Even their dying moments and their dying pain. For every bandit I killed, I felt as if though I'm dying myself. as I consumed their essence. On top of my condition, this experience strained my mind. Although among the bandits' memories, a glimmer of hope I saw in their memories, a place where I could potentially find answers and solutions to my current predicament. What had happened to my body? Did consuming the beast's flesh in the cursed forest had to do something with it? I don't know. I didn't know yet. After I gained my bearings, using the newfound memories, I had followed the trail towards the clinic. My condition was worsening. The mental and physical toll were too great. I couldn't afford another battle. I covered myself with rags. I looted off the bandits' bodies, and I stuck to the shadows, straying away from any conflict, straying away from any potential conflict, and doing my best to reach this clinic. On my way to the clinic, as I was attempting to find this clinic, I had witnessed a battle on the road. Someone was riding a horse in the midst of the battle. I kept my distance. I was in no condition to fight. I could not risk sticking around. I didn't understand why the fight was happening or how many sides are fighting. I had to stay focused, while I still possessed my ability to walk and stay conscious. At last, I had found the residence of this special doctor from the bandit's memory. I walked up the stairs and I knocked. I knocked for what seemed like eternity. Pain shooting through my body, barely being able to stand at this point. The surges happening too often. I could barely stand. I supported myself against the door while waiting for whoever is on the inside to open. A person finally opened the door and greeted me. I asked for a doctor. I could only utter the word doctor. I did not have the strength to hold a conversation. The person, whose face I can barely recall, understood and led me inside. My legs were no longer strong enough to carry me, so they gave out and I fell. The person helped me up and supported me to the doctor's office. I was instructed to lay on the couch, so I did. Everything was a blur. I can barely remember faces or anything that really happened. At this point, my vision was blurry, my body sweaty, pain shooting all over, mental strain from all the memories. I remember talking to you, trying to describe what is wrong, but to no avail. Doctor, I need help now.
Alright, what is it? Can you tell me what is hurting?
Everything.
Can you tell me what has happened, perhaps?
I did not yet trust you at the time, so I did not tell you the full story. I woke up in a crypt of some sort. I had to fight my way out. Something wrong with my body. You managed to deduce that the problem is magical in nature. So you called in an expert. However, as this expert was about to examine me, I felt an astonishing surge of energy about to blow any second. I could not risk this surge hurting what could be my only chance of fixing this. So with the final ounce of my strength, I pushed this person away. Get away! I fell unconscious. While I was unconscious, I could swear I felt a presence other than my own, in my own mind, lurking in the shadows. Barely there, and I could swear for a second that it spoke to me.
It's time to hunt.
One thing was clear. I was no longer the same.